used to, I don't know about in France, Goswami Prabhu. Did you used to sing a lot of bhajans here in France when you joined?
Oh, yes, yes. Not now.
Not now.
Yes.
Yes? No? I don't know. But when we were early days in this mission, it was a daily affair to sing the songs of the Vaishnavacharyas. It was part of the daily schedule. It wasn't like, squeeze it in quickly in the middle of some kirtan amongst 10 other things. But it was a scheduled program every day, singing Vaishnava bhajans. Part of the evening program in London. And then also daily greetings. Well, things were a little simpler, actually. We didn't have Guru Puja in the early days when I was in the temple. We didn't have Tulsi Puja. It was very simple. So there was more time, you could say, for, singing these type of bhajans. And whatever. But it was part of the schedule in the evening, every evening, 8:30 till 9 o'clock. 30 minutes of bhajan every night of the week, except Sunday, which was guest day. Every devotee was fully absorbed in serving the guests on Sunday. But during the week, every devotee would be there for the bhajan class. Bhajan class isn't the word. Bhajan session. So this is one of the songs which we learned in those days. We learned, quite a lot of the songs from the songbook. Our songbook we call ISKCON songbook, which is only a tiny fragment of the songs of Narottam Das, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Lochan Das and others. But it's a little drop of the ocean of nectar is probably more than sufficient. So we'll sing this song if we can. We have a Madanga player, yes, we do. We have a harmonium player, and Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. You have a book. Anyone actually have a book? Do they exist anymore? They do. We have tons of them in the book room. French and English not so much. We have some, but French particularly we have songbooks available. If any of you visitors from London want a French songbook, you can see me out there. Jai Shri Shri Radha Govinda Madhava Krishna Balaram Govinda. Hare Krishna, so gorgeous. You've got a matching outfit today, Loshan.
That's true.
You've got the right colours there. Kind of a purplish looking bead bag and a nice, what's that colour called? What is it called? This greeny, bluey, what is it called?
Turquoise?
Turquoise.
Yeah, turquoise. And red
See
jumper.
what it is.
Red jumper.
Decent. Very good. Looks nice. Yeah, if you've got a songbook, please give memory. We're getting physically in. The brain is part of the physical frame, so it doesn't always work quite the way it used to. Oh hey, Vaishnava Thakur, Tuyara Sagar, Hera Be merciful to me, your servant, and purify me by the shade of your lotus feet. Your feet I humbly hold. Controlling my 6 urges, purifying me of the 6 faults. Please give to your servant the 6 good qualities. Oh, give me the 6 kinds of holy association. I have sat down here in the hope of having your company. Alone, I find I have no strength to chant the holy name of Lord Hari. I beg you, therefore, please be merciful with a particle of faith, give me the great treasure of the holy name Krishna. Krishna is yours. You were able to give him to me, for such is your power. I am indeed wretched and simply run after you, crying, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna. You have a test, as a test for you. Vishakamaharaj doing a presentation on nectar of devotion. Am I correct?
Yes, Maharaja.
Yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So there's another very wonderful presentation, literary presentation by Rupa Goswami. It's almost like a condensed essence of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, called Sri Upadeshamrita, the nectar of instruction. So you can read, this is directly taken, you could say, from the first verses of nectar of instruction. So if you want to find out, you can read also in the, there's a little bit of a, what do you call, note at the bottom of the page, but otherwise you can read about our 6 faults, you can read about the 6 favourable qualities, you can read about the 6 types of favourable association and so on in the nectar of instruction. So I highly recommend it. But you take advantage of that opportunity, brother. It is very wonderful. Perhaps some of you may have been there, I don't know. In 1976 in Mayapur, when the book became available in mass, you could say, for the devotees, it was very exciting. We were all sitting around reading the nectar of instruction. It was a very special event. Especially when we went to Vrindavan, we misunderstood it a little bit. We jumped to the last verses and didn't really apply the earlier ones first. We kind of misbehaved in Radha Kund a little bit there. But aside from that, it was amazing. We used to distribute this book in mass in England, and we printed them by the hundreds of thousands. Distribute all over the country. I don't know what the general population were thinking. Amazing. Book 1 comment was, this was done by some kind of survey that some company did of our books. They said this book is very special because it really tells people what you're doing. It's straight to the point. It's not like a bit of this and that, it's straight to the point. And it is for devotees. Prabhupada says this book especially is meant for neophyte devotees. So I know you're all way beyond the neophyte stage. You're probably all high up there somewhere, I don't know. But at least for the likes of myself, this book is very essential reminder and guidebook for us. Now where are we reading from the Lilamrita? It's a remarkable story. And do you know where we're reading on this page? Vishnu Jan, you're usually the man. No, we don't know. Does anyone know? I don't know. If last week the reader is with us today. Okay, well, I'll just read from where I am, where my eyes are. Om Jaanananda Jaanananda Shalakaya Chakshuramitam Yena Tasmi Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Dinamane Namaste Saraswate Gauravani Pracharine Nirvasesha Sanyavadi Paschatadeshatarine. I think some of our assembled Vaishnavas, who is the coordinator here? Your coordinator? I think some of the devotees are not familiar with the prayers. Is that right?
Oh, again, again? I don't remember seeing
Om Vishnu Padaya.
Maharaj, maybe, yeah, because quite few people are new.
Very new, wonderful.
Yeah.
It's a nice thing to know how we can, when we address somebody, it's nice to know how to address them nicely. This is an address to our spiritual master. More than an address, it's a relationship also. You can hear about that more later. Krishna consciousness is all about relationship. So now we're going to have a little relationship with Prabhupada. If you haven't got it, this is the, it's a big version. There's 2 volumes to this actually. This is the, there are many different approaches, and other devotees have also written their aspect of their relationship with Prabhupada, their spiritual master and so on. But this is the general one, covering the whole pastimes that we know of Srila Prabhupada, to some degree at least. And we're reading here, this chapter is called Beyond the Lower East Side. So for those who are new, if we're not new, it doesn't matter, it's nice to hear again. The Lower East Side, well, that is an area of Manhattan. You know Manhattan, New York? Some of you have been there. It's the center of New York, basically speaking. So the Lower East Side was at that time, you could say, a little bit downtrodden. It wasn't so opulent, to say the least. It was inhabited mostly by migrants, rather poor on the sort of financial scale, and hippies had moved into that area by the thousands. And by Krishna's arrangement, Prabhupada had settled there, in a second place called 2nd Avenue. And so that area is called the Lower East Side. At least it was, I suppose it still is. So beyond the Lower East Side, let's see what it's here. Satsvarup Maharaj, who compiled this with the help of others, writes, "The Gate Theatre was a small auditorium on 2nd Avenue, about 10 blocks north of the storefront." I don't know if you use that terminology, blocks. You know, there's like, in America it's more appropriate. In England it's not so appropriate in many cases. We don't have blocks. The roads are all at different angles, you know, isn't it? In many of the old cities, they're not like this. In America, all the streets like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, they're all in blocks, almost all. But in Europe, not so much. In the old cities, maybe the new ones, I don't know. So block means like 1 block, so 10 blocks away. Satsvarup was there at the time. He joined the movement in 1966, when Srila Prabhupada started his first center in New York. The temple was just a little storefront, quite small. Some of you have been there maybe. We rented the Gate Theatre for 1 night. It was a dark place, painted all black. The theatre was almost empty. We had an easel on stage with a painting of the Panchatattva. Swamiji, in those days the devotees addressed Prabhupada as Swamiji. You don't hear that now. Maybe to other devotees who've accepted sannyas, but now everyone addressed Prabhupada as Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. But then the devotees were addressing him as Swamiji. Swamiji spoke, and his talk became very technical. Pointing and referring back to the painting, he described each member of the Panchatattva. Thus now we have Srila Prabhupada has given us the Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is such a nectarian literature describing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers. And particularly this description of their actual, who they actually are, and you could say from our point of view, who they represent is quite technical, beyond probably most of our brain capacity or intellectual capacity to kind of digest almost. He first explained that Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appearing as a pure devotee. Oh, he's God. Lord Chaitanya is behaving like a pure devotee. This was one of his intentions of appearing in this world, was to relish the nectar which the devotees feel in their service to Krishna, the ecstasy, the bliss. So in the form of a pure devotee, he's tasting that nectar. Lord Nityananda, to the right of Lord Chaitanya, is his first expansion, and to the right of Lord Nityananda is Advaita, who is the incarnation of the Supreme Lord. It's quite perplexing to conditioned minds whose concept of God is kind of limited, not understanding his various unlimited forms, unlimited energies, and so on. To the left of Lord Chaitanya, he said, is Gadadhar, the internal energy. Right now we're in what's called external material energy. So this is like a reflection of the spiritual energy. That spiritual energy is personified here as Gadadhar, the internal energy. And Srivas is the perfect devotee. He takes it all in the sense of Jivataka, that means the living entity, not God playing the part of a devotee, but the devotee themselves, perfection of devotion. During the talk, I was thinking that this was maybe too elevated for the audience, but I was sitting close beside Swamiji. Unlike the other devotees, I was really enjoying being with him. After the gate engagement, Swamiji and his disciples agreed that it was a waste of time trying to rent theatres. It was better to go to Tompkins Square Park. That was the best place for attracting people, and it didn't cost anything. Interesting. Huh? It's like that when you go out. Of course, we do also have public programs in halls, and they can be very effective also. But going out into the public marketplaces, streets, wherever, how many people come in contact with Krishna consciousness? In London, you have your daily Harinam along Oxford Street. Some of you may have participated on Saturday in Piccadilly and other places, of course. But every day on Oxford Street, I don't know the latest statistics, but the statistics used to be that at least 1 million people daily would be on Oxford Street. Not all at once, but throughout the day. It's perhaps the busiest pedestrian street in the world, I don't know. But it's very, very busy. And Harinam now is still going out. How many times a day? Twice a day sometimes, I think. Is that right, Harini?
Once a day.
At least once. We used to go out 3 times, but once, twice, thrice. We used to go out twice when we were in our early days in the temple. We would leave at 9:30 in the morning, finish at 1, take an hour's break, start again at 2, and carry on till 6. So there's like 7.5 hours up and down Oxford Street. That was a normal day. On special days it would be longer. Festival days it would be longer. Lord Chaitanya's appearance day would be longer usually. But so many people take that mental picture of the holy name, the Sankirtan party. That mental picture which never goes away, by the way. Other pictures come and go according to karma. They formulate a particular perception, but they don't stay in as themselves necessarily. But the holy name or the picture of the devotees never goes away. It gradually builds up and up and up. So just by seeing the Sankirtan party or some kind of hearing, they're getting benefited. And that's one of the reasons we go out, not just to have a good time, but it's actually so that everyone can get that opportunity to associate. It was 11 p.m. and only one light was on in Swamiji's apartment, in the kitchenette. Swamiji was staying up, teaching Jaanananda and Brahmananda how to cook, because the next day, Sunday, they would be holding a feast for the public. Used to be called the Sunday Love Feast. I don't know if that term is appropriate nowadays. Maybe not the same, I don't know. But we used to call it the Sunday Love Feast because it was a time of love and peace, with the youngsters all looking for love, whatever that is. Love and peace. They had a different idea of love, maybe. But still, the term was very attractive to people. Sunday Love Feast.
We still have Maharaj.
Pardon?
We still say that in
You still say that at the moment, do you? Okay. So I don't know if it's the same as it used to be. Because the Sunday Love Feast was, we didn't have an Indian community in 1971-72. Maybe one or two Indians would pop in now and again, but hardly any. It was all white people, young white people mostly. And we would pick them up on the street, all week long, inviting them to the Sunday Love Feast. Same here. All week long, inviting people and eagerly hoping they'll come in. We had no mobiles in those days to contact people. We didn't even have telephone in those days. Not even a phone. It came out sometime. People didn't use phones in those days much. It was all word of mouth. So we go into the areas where they were and try to encourage them to come for Sunday Love Feast. The temple would be packed with young white people. And the feast would be out of this world. You know this term? Out of this world. You know that term?
Yeah.
Not just some, rice, dal, sabji, burnt sweet rice, what they serve nowadays. Oh, it was, we would start the Sunday feast on Monday, the day after the Sunday, planning the Sunday Love Feast, discussing what was popular, what could be added or made improved, and so on. All week long, because we had no money whatsoever for the feast. There wasn't 1 penny for the feast. It was £5 a week for food. That was all for the day's offering. There was not a penny for devotee prashadam available, not one. We had to beg everything. So the cook the next Sunday would all week be trying to find ways of getting the boga together for the Sunday feast. There's always an immaculate, incredible feast every week. At least 12 to 15 preparations every Sunday, every week. That's what really attracted people. The kirtan and the prashadam. They couldn't really focus in much on the philosophy mostly. So Prabhupada was one of the main things. Early days, 66, he's teaching Brahmananda and Kirtananda how to cook. So they could continue this program. Kirtananda had suggested it be advertised as a love feast, and Swamiji had adopted the name, although some thought it sounded strange at first to hear him say love feast. the devotees have put up posters around the neighborhood, just like you put posters up around here advertising next Saturday's public program, and made a sign for the window of the storefront, and Swamiji said he would cook enough for at least 50 people. He said the love feast should become an important part of ISKCON. As he had explained many times, food offered to Krishna becomes spiritual, and whoever eats the prasadam receives great spiritual benefit. Prasadam meant mercy. Mercy. His two helpers stood respectfully beside him, sometimes stepping back out of his way as he moved, and sometimes looking over his shoulder as he mixed spices, or set a pan over the flame, or called for another ingredient. Like when you're in a dental clinic or something, the dentist says, bring this, bring that, bring this, bring that. Like a real art. He was stirring a big pot of sweet rice with a wooden spoon. It had to be stirred constantly and slowly adding milk. It's interesting. If the sweet rice burned, it would be ruined, he said. And he handed the spoon to Jaanananda. He next showed them how to make ghee by heating butter in a wok and separating the milk solids from the butter fat. And he simultaneously taught them how to make apple chutney. These are just basics. It's interesting that butter, we used to be able to get free butter. There was some kind of outlet, I've forgotten what it was, but they used to give free butter to needy associations. And somehow or other we qualified, so every week we get like, a box of butter. And we turn it into ghee. Ghee was almost unavailable and very expensive, if it were available. So we make ghee out of the butter. And it would take quite a while boiling the butter, carefully done, and scooping off the top, putting it aside. We wouldn't waste anything. Even the top was fully utilized, the bits thrown away. They were spread on chapatis or put into sabji or something. And this way they make ghee. And the sweet rice was very special. I mean, there are different ways of making sweet rice. Prabhupada's teaching one here. Another way is we would cook the sweet rice. We start at 10 o'clock at night, finish at 6 in the morning. And there's a long sign. Leave it all night on the cooker, all night, just on a very low flame. And the sweet rice would gradually become completely kind of homogeneous almost. The rice would be completely floating, completely suspended in this creamy kind of condensed milk, suspended there. And then in the winter we put it in a churn and put it in the lake, back to down to Mana to cool it down. And we were there, or in the fridge if you had one, to cool it down after a while. And it would be so creamy, it should be cold. Not like straight off the oven, hot, uncooked sweet rice. Sometimes it's like that, hopefully not, but sometimes it is. And just the amount of sugar, so it's just absolutely irresistible. And of course you put other things in there, like maybe some raisins, like cashews, maybe some little bit of, even spicing sometimes. Different varieties are there. Strawberries, frozen strawberries. You don't use frozen strawberries, but we didn't know in those days. Sometimes we get frozen strawberries and so I put them in there, cool it down. After the rice is cooled down so it doesn't curdle across. But all these things that make it absolutely, irresistible. Irresistible. And then you have that with big, round, puffed up puris. Nice. They can be hot, but they're not always possible to do that. We take that halwa the same. We cook the halwa for a long time, stirring it slowly so it doesn't burn. It's fully absorbing the butter. So, He next showed them how to make ghee. We read that. And Prabhupada was silent as he cooked. When Brahmananda asked him how he had learned so much about cooking, Prabhupada said that he had learned by watching his mother. He laughed and said it had not been like it is in the West, where you take a lump of flesh from your refrigerator, throw it in a pan, boil it, sprinkle it with salt, then eat like an animal. Most people cooking in the West is, most of you here are from Indian origin, but mostly in the West cooking is quite simple, to say the least. And in Korea, he said, they eat dogs. But human beings should eat grains, fruits, vegetables, and milk, and cow especially should not be killed. And in every preparation of Prabhupada so much used milk products. It was like the essential feature of the prasadam. I know veganism is very common, and there are obviously moral reasons why people feel that way, and other reasons too maybe, but we're here to become Krishna conscious, we're not here to become moralists. Or it may help with preaching, you can say sometimes, but we're here to become Krishna conscious, we're here to please Krishna. We offer him what he likes. That's the main feature. Make it for Krishna's pleasure. When Prabhupada first arrived in Auckland in 1972, he asked Jagatarini, he just came from the Philippines, he just flew in from the Philippines. In the Philippines they also used to eat dogs. Something, not everybody, so. And Prabhupada's first question when he spoke to me, do they eat dogs in New Zealand? She was shocked, you know. Can you imagine eating dogs in the Western world? They're like gods, basically speaking. People must worship the dog. And Prabhupada asked that question in the car. Swamiji, well, Brahmananda cut the apples for the chutney and put them in a pot for steaming, and Kirtananda stirred the sweet rice. Swamiji prepared masala, the basic mixture of spices which he would soon add to the steaming apples. The familiar smell of red pepper and cumin seeds entered their nostrils sharply as the masala crackled and smoked in the hot ghee in the tiny frying pan. With 3 separate operations going at once, sweet rice, steaming apples, and masala, Prabhupada cautioned Kirtananda to stir the sweet rice steadily and scrape the bottom of the pot. This is one way, this is you could say the quick way. But we didn't stir the bottom of the pot, we let it lie, and then in the morning transferred the sweet rice into another pot. But the burning didn't actually enter into the rice, sweet into the milk. He took the spoon for a moment from Kirtananda's hand and demonstrated how to stir it properly. Sweet rice, chutney, and certain other dishes could be made in advance of the feast, he explained, but many things would have to be done the next morning. It would make the chutney, the sweets, the gulags would be made on Thursday night, or latest Friday, so they would soak for at least 2 days in the sugar water, whatever you're using. Maybe a little rose water or something, but they would soak there for 2 days. And you're one of the heroes of Bhaktivedanta Manor, Mother Kalangana. You may have heard of Mother Kalangana, many of you know Mother Kalangana. She was absolutely not just a sweet maker, but she could make anything practically. She was our cook, and very place later on, she became our cook. and she could make a feast out of next to nothing. Nobody else would cook. She'd go in there and transform a sack of potatoes into a feast that you could never forget. Empowered. Because her heart was so absorbed in pleasing devotees and pleasing Krishna. And talking about gulabs, she would make these gulabs. They were, I don't know how big, not quite as big as a tennis ball, but something between a ping pong ball and a tennis ball. They were like this big. And they were complete, whoa, they were like, you couldn't get them in your mouth practically. And they were completely soft and so delicious. Well, properly cooked, Sometimes they're only on the outside and inside a bit of a hard bit of dough on the inside. Not sweet or something like that. They gotta be done properly. You can tell how much I'm relishing this. My mouth is watering. Prabhupada rose early, despite having kept late hours the night before, and after the morning class he was back in the kitchen. Now 6 disciples sat in his front room making dough for puris and samosas. He had shown them how to make the dough, and Umapati had kneaded for a while by pounding the soft dough with his fists. But Brahmananda was better at it. Socking don't hear that word, socking the weight of his restless body onto the large lump of dough. Really good for your muscles making puris. As Swamiji entered the room to examine the quality of the puris, his disciples looked up at him respectfully. They were always serious when he was present. He picked up a puri and examined it. It is not to the standard, he said, but it will have to do. Then amid crumpled rejects and oddly shaped pieces of dough, he squatted down beside his helpers, who were trying as best as they could, though making a mess. You know how difficult when you first start rolling puris, isn't it? You've got to get the dough the right texture and everything, And we would never use flour to roll the puris. You had to roll them in ghee. The flour sometimes burns in the pan. So it really is ghee. You have to roll them just right so they're not fat on one side and thin on the other, which is often the case, shaped like a triangle or something. This way and that way. You have to be perfectly round, just the right thickness, so that they puff up like a football when you put them in there. Just 5 seconds is ready practically. You learn the art of rolling puris. You can roll easy roll 10, 20 puris in an hour, in a minute, practically speaking, if you really know what you're doing. He took a small bowl of dough, pressed it flat with his fingers, and then deftly rolled it out until it curled around the wooden pin and then fell off. A perfectly round puri. He held it up, displaying a translucent thin, but not too thin, patty of dough. Make them like this, he said. But hurry. On discovering the dough was too stiff, Swamiji added a little ghee and then a little milk, good milking, and kneaded the dough to a softer texture. Everything should be just right, he said. And his disciples took to their menial task with concentrated earnestness. Who among them had ever heard of these things before? Puris and samosas. Samosas were a must every Sunday feast. A must. They were so good, samosas. You would really make sure they were good. Usually cooked the filling the day before, the night before. Yes. It was all new, and the challenge something very important. It was a part of devotional service. Swamiji did much of the cooking as he simultaneously supervised his helpers. He was always near, walking barefoot back to the kitchen, then to the front room, then to his own room in the rear, and even when he went to the back room, his disciples could see him through the window of the wall. Swamiji saw each of the nearly 12 dishes to its final stages, and his disciples carried them into the front room in pots, one by one, and placed them before the picture of Lord Chaitanya. There was halava, dal, 2 subjis, fancy rice, puris, samosas, sweet rice, apple chutney, and gulab jamuns, or sweet balls, ISKCON bullets. Prabhupada had personally spent much time slowly deep frying the sweet balls on a low heat until they had turned golden brown and full. Then one by one he had lifted them out of the ghee with a slotted spoon and put them to soak in sugar syrup. He recognized that these golden ghee-fried milk balls soaked with sugar water were his disciples' favorite prasadam treat, gulab jamuns. He called them ISKCON bullets because they were weapons in the war against Maya. He even allowed that a jar of ISKCON bullets floating in their syrup be always on hand in the front room, where his disciples could take them without asking permission and without observing any regulated hours. They could take as many as they liked. Now you can see why people stayed. Jaanananda brought in the samosa filling, which he had prepared from spinach and green peas cooked to a paste, and which the Swami had heavily spiced. Stuffing the samosas was an art, and Swamiji showed them how to do it. He took a semicircle of dough, shaped it into a cone, stuffed it with a spoonful of filling, then folded the top over and sealed it, a samosa, ready for the hot ghee. It's funny, with all our machines nowadays, don't seem to be able to do it quite like this. Jaanananda carried the imperfectly shaped puris into the kitchen, where he and Kirtananda deep fried them 2 at a time. If the temperature of the ghee, the consistency of the dough, and the size, shape, and thickness of the puris were all just right, the puris would cook only in a few seconds, rising to the surface of the ghee, where they would inflate like little balloons. The cooks then stood on edge in a the cooks then stood, this was an important part, listen to this. The cooks then stood them on edge in a cardboard box to drain off the excess ghee. And so they were upright, flat on top of each other, so they become, the ones at the bottom become soggy, oily balls. You can roll back into dough. I often do that. I get puri at some of the temples. I roll it back into a ball and fry it again. It's just a lump of oily dough. It's going to be properly cooked. Drain off the excess ghee, so there's no excess ghee at all. As they completed the last preparations for the feast, Swamiji's disciples washed the stiff dough from their hands and went down to the storefront, where they set out the straw mats and awaited the guests and the feast. The funny thing was, in those days we had no money, but we never cooked in oil. Never. Only in ghee. Somehow or another we would get ghee. We didn't steal it, but somehow we would get it. Yes, we didn't use much ghee. I mean, to cook 100 puris only took a little bit of ghee. Didn't take much. Well, upstairs, Swamiji and a couple of his cooks offered all the preparations to Lord Chaitanya, reciting the Parampara prayer. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We're at the bottom of page 519. There's a break there. Page 519. Vishnu Jan Prabhu. Next week, or maybe the class will be not on, but when the next class of the Lilamrita, remember that. Bottom right hand. Okay. So you have to come back next time to get the love feast, I'm afraid. It's just been prepared, but it hasn't been distributed yet, so you have to come back maybe 2 weeks' time for the actual distribution of the love feast. It would be nice one day to kind of, replicate something like this. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you all very much. So have a great day. Nectar of devotion. You have a class this morning?
Yes, Maharaja.
What time?
11:30.
Where?
Seminar next week.
11:30 to 1:30 like that?
11:30 to 1, Maharaj.
And then another one this
And
afternoon?
then there's a workshop in the evening from 4:30 to 6.
Oh, you're going to be working this evening, isn't it? What are they going to do? What are they doing? Cutting wood? Cutting wood. That's nectar of devotion. Do something. Do something useful. So you have another workshop without that. Where are you having the sessions?
Next door.
Huh?
Next door.
Oh, in that room there. Okay. Okay. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Bol. Hare Krishna.